I don't allow people in my life that don't have integrity. I don't have any bullshitters. I don't allow people in my life that drag me down. I love people that are creative. I love conversation. I love listening to people. I love poking away at them to find out who they are, as I probably have done with you. I ask lots of questions. I'm a nosy fucker. It's like, well, you think you've answered my questions, well, you haven't. I want to know, you think you've told me about this. Well, I know around the corner there's a dirty bit of shit that you don't want anybody to know, but I'll find out about it. And it will go in one of my stories. But it won't be called Usama al Naimi. It'll be called something else. But you'll know it's about you. But I'll do it out because I want to express it.
Because you feel like it needs to be said.
Yeah, absolutely. And yeah. So all my work, since that's a good way. All my work, I feel, needs to be said.
Before we continue, I'd like to pause for a moment. In this next part of the conversation, Weaver shares his experience of losing a close friend to suicide. It's a deeply personal moment, not just because of the loss itself, but because of the expression of confusion, anger, guilt, and sense of responsibility that can follow when you lose someone you love in that way. I've chosen to edit out certain parts of the recording. This is partly due to platform constraints, but more importantly, out of care for listeners who might be vulnerable. I recognize that this is a complex issue, so I've reached out to professionals to make sure that what we do share stays true to Weaver's honest reflections, but in a way that isn't harmful to audiences. What matters here is that Weaver reflects on how this loss impacted him, how it sharpened his appreciation for life, his sense of integrity, his belief in the value of art, and the power of creative work as an essential component of living. If you find this topic challenging, then please feel free to skip ahead. And if you yourself are struggling, then please know that support is available. I've included links to helplines and resources in the video description, and I'd urge you to seek help immediately. With that said, let's continue.
I needed to tell the story of my best friend who killed himself, and he wrote, and the suicide note is written to me. That is the worst thing you can ever... Oh, fuck me, that was horrible.
I'm so sorry to hear that, Weaver.
Yeah, he was my best friend. He was a really good chef. He made a fucking great nut roast, by the way. That's the other thing I love about it. Bring a good storytelling. What you do is you bring it back to something. So we've mentioned nut roast a few times. So we mentioned penis a few times. Good storytelling, the art of good storytelling, you come back to something. A listener goes, oh, that's clever. How did he get back to penises or nut roasts? I can't remember whether it's in the book. I wrote a story called He Looked Like He Did When He Was... He looked... the story's called He Looked Like He Did When He Was Eating Snow. And I remember going around to his house one day, and it was snowing, and he was out on there was a flat roof outside his house, and he was lying on his back in his bathrobe, and his head was tilted to the side, and he got like a bottle of whiskey that was partly in his, and he was completely hammered. And then about 3 months afterwards, and the wanker, what he did before he actually killed himself, he fucking wrote a letter to me. Dear Kevin, it says. And it's like, it's 12 o'clock on the... Dear Kevin, you're my best friend. You're my only friend, and I don't want to live anymore. And I want to tell you why I'm going to kill myself. And 12:32, it just says, thank you. Thank you for your friendship. I'm going now. I just thought, you bastard. Why did you fucking write to me? Because the police knocked on my door. I hadn't heard from him, and the police knocked on my door and said, is it Mr. Weaver? Because he'd addressed the fucking letter to me. There's no question it wasn't going to come to me. And I said, yeah, and they said, well, can we come in? And they said, I'm afraid he's killed himself. And And I said, the first thing I said was, what did he look like? And I just thought, fuck me. Because when he was lying in the snow, he was frozen. When he was lying in the snow in his bathrobe, kind of his drunk, his face was blue, his hands were blue. And it was a bit like, why didn't I realise that he was going to kill himself? Because he looked like he was dead on that roof. And yet it was 3 or 4 weeks later that, he drove himself consciously. Why didn't he phone up and say, Kevin, let's go for a drink? Why the fuck did he kill himself? And that, for me, come back to integrity. He believed that there was no option for him to continue to be alive. Now, I don't know whether it's courage, cowardice. I don't know what taking your own life is to do with. But I wish he hadn't done it, or I wish he'd not written to me. Because it was like, fuck me, Laurie, what do you expect me to do apart from feel mortified about it? You didn't give me, you could have phoned up, I could have come and talked you out of it. I could have got you counselling. But you fucking killed yourself. You bastard. How dare you? And I was off work for about 3 months. I felt to blame. That I felt that I was responsible in some, even though I wasn't. And then I met his father at his funeral, and I said, "Oh, I'm his best mate." He said, "Oh, you're the guy that he wrote a letter to." Yeah, and I said, "Yeah." And he said, "Well, I just wanted to let you know that I never knew who my son was, and he didn't really know me." And it was a bit like, that's exactly like me and my father. So there was this weird resonance of, nothing in my life, because of this belief in the value of art. Nothing is ever going to happen to me that is going to cause me to take my own life. I'm determined to live until the bitter end, unless I go bonkers. My mum's 95, so I've got good genes, hopefully. And I'll carry on making work, whatever that is. I'm going to carry on writing books until I'm dead. Whether people buy them or not, I have to write. I think my work prods for other people. It like pokes them and gently and goes, is this what life's about? Maybe is this what? Oh, I could do that, or that's interesting, or that's what's that about? I like that kind of. What is all this about?
That's certainly something that comes across, just through daily interactions, really, with you. It's the sense of inquisitive.
Yeah, I'm fascinated by. Why do you do what you do? Why do you notice this and I notice that? It's like, and what would happen? What would happen if we said, "Oh, let's make a bit of work together"? What would that look like? I know what a piece of work with Joe and Christine looks like because I made it with them, or with Forced Entertainment, or with. I'm making a piece of work with a really good friend of mine next time. I had no idea what it'll be like, but let's see. Let's see what it looks like. Where's this interview going? Can I remember exactly what we talked about? Well, some of it, but not all of it. Is it any good? Is it the sort of thing that anybody wants to listen to? I really need a cigarette. And that's genuine. How are we doing for time? How are we doing for time? Was that you didn't realise that was real, did you? You thought I was
I had a glimmer in my mind. I thought maybe he does need a cigarette.
I have no sense of where we are.
So we're at 5 o'clock right now.
Okay,
I think it's probably a good time for a break anyway. But firstly, I just want to say thank you so much for sharing that story. That's incredibly. It's a very sensitive moment in your life.
Yeah, every time I think about it, and I try to regularly. I try not to forget it.
Yeah.
Because it isn't every day that happens, and he was what 20. He was in his 20s. He was a really, really good chef. It's like, what a waste of a life. And he took his life, and he didn't want to be found. And I just think, Christ, what was going on inside that guy's head?
Well, I wanted to pull out two things, because if the first thing is, I can't imagine how it must feel for you to be the recipient of something like that, where on the one hand you are the only person that he trusted enough And you meant so much to him that you would be the one that he'd reach out to.
I know, it's crazy.
And yet you're now the person that has to read that letter.
And carry that with me for the rest of my life, yeah. You know, and I said to my son, I said, you can do many things, but please don't kill yourself. You know, I don't want any more suicides in my life.
Yeah.
And, you know, professionally, as well as being an artist, I've worked as a senior manager and consultant in homelessness. So I've met lots of young people that are fucked up and are seriously damaged. And I've met young people that have then gone on to kill themselves, but it's not the same when it's your best friend.
Yeah.
And, you know, there were 2 rules I gave my son. I said, you can smoke and snort anything you like, but don't ever take heroin. Absolutely I will personally thrash you if you take heroin. Don't ever take heroin. You know, yeah, don't take heroin and don't kill yourself. I mean, that's a bit of a responsibility. What a thing to say to your son. But he's very clear. He'll never take heroin.
Yep.
I don't care what else he takes. I've taken everything apart from heroin. That's why my teeth are crap. I used to do a lot of speed when I was touring. That was the great thing about touring. You would be given riders, cannabis, and I'm sure, you know, the Rolling Stones. You know, Keith Richards doesn't look like he does for no good reason. There's plenty of riders full of, you know, drugs. It's part of what happens. Anyway, should we? I need a fag.
Yeah, I was just going to say that the last thing on that point
Yes.
was you talked about how you'd never go there because, you know, you feel so strongly about the art.
Yeah.
And I wonder if there's something around when you're someone like yourself who is always expressing how they feel really deeply.
Yeah.
Your emotions and your reality is out on display.
They're on my sleeve. My heart's on my sleeve. My guts are outside.
Yeah, Weaver is visible.
Yeah.
So I just wanted to...
I like that. Weaver is visible. That's a great title for a story. I live on the outside of myself in many ways. My emotions are in this room. My guts are in this room. And whenever I go out, you know, I'll walk into any room and I don't know why, but it happens at Together Culture. I walk into a room and people go, "Fuck me, who's that?" Or I can't help it. I just, and sometimes I think, just back off, Weaver, just ease off. But people go, "Come on, Weaver, come out." You know, that's what you do naturally. You get people together, you fire up a room. If I walk into a dull room, within about 2 seconds, people are fucking dancing off the ceiling. I can't help it. I want people to grab fucking life by the balls, give it a fucking good shake, because at most we have 60 or 70 years. Fucking shake it hard. Do something with it. Don't fucking sit around watching telly or looking at your fucking phone all day. Go and do something. Make a friend. Make a fucking difference in the world, because you can. Make a positive difference. Don't be a lazy-arsed wanker. And don't fucking kill yourself. On my watch. Okay.
Thank you, Weaver.
My pleasure.